Hey guys, Miss Megan here with another video for Wilderness Survival. Today we're going to be talking about maps and what things are on maps and how we can read maps. It might get a little confusing, so I've got some fun brain pops and other videos that will help explain it a little bit better, and then we'll just practice by looking at maps and seeing what we can figure out with them. So to start out, I am going to share my screen so you guys can see what I am looking at. So let me get this up here. Okay. So first things first is we're going to read our Be Prepared motto. This will increase our chances of not getting lost in the first place. So first, we don't go alone, right? Never go alone. We're going to tell somebody where we're going and when we expect to return. We'll stick to our plan. Otherwise, rescuers won't know where to look for us. We'll check the weather before we go and dress accordingly. We'll take the proper gear and some extra supplies for emergencies. We're going to take our survival kit, and we're going to be a part of the planning by reviewing maps, which we're going to learn how to read today, and guides of the area to learn about the roads, the streams, the features, the trails, weather, animals, and other possible dangers. So, next. Come on, doesn't want to move. There we go. So if we do find ourselves lost, we are going to stop. We're going to stop, think, observe, and plan. This is probably, you guys probably have these things memorized now. You're so smart, and we say it at the beginning of every one. So what is a map? Have you guys ever drew a map, or maybe you've seen a map? There's maps at a lot of different places. Sometimes when we go camping, there's maps, like on a big board as we get there. Our phones have maps on them. You've probably seen some maps when you've been at school in some books. So we're going to start by watching a brain pop video. I'm sure you guys love these brain pop videos. So let me pull up this brain pop, and that's going to explain what a map is. So let me share with you. We love Tim and Moby, don't we? They're
why don't you let me do that? Hey, that reminds me. Dear Tim and Moby, maps confuse me like nobody's business. Help. Yours, Scoop. Hello, Scoop. Moby has a problem with maps too, but they're really not all that complicated. A map is just a representation of some part of the Earth's surface. There are all different kinds of maps. Physical maps show natural features like mountains, rivers, lakes, oceans, and other parts of the natural landscape. Political maps show borders of areas like countries, states, and cities. These can shift as wars are fought and government changes happen. Historical maps show movements of people, changing borders, battles, and other historical events. This one shows the march of Napoleon Bonaparte's army into Russia. The blue arrows represent Napoleon's army, and the red arrows represent the Russian army. There are lots of other types of maps, each with different uses. There are nautical maps, geologic maps, topographic maps, and road maps, just to name a few. Most maps, though, have certain things in common. One thing just about any map will have is lines that show country borders and major rivers. This map shows the mineral resources of Africa. Yeah, you can really make a map of pretty much anything. On this map, colors and symbols play a big role. Symbols are little pictures used to represent anything you want. Here, gray triangles represent fuel, yellow squares represent precious metals like gold, blue circles represent gemstones, and gray circles represent non-metals. Oh, I just looked at the legend, or key. A legend tells you what the symbols, lines, and colors on a map mean. See, this one shows what the symbols represent. Labels are words that can explain something about the map. This one says Tropic of Capricorn. A compass rose tells you which way north, south, east, and west are. and a map's scale shows the ratio between the distance on the map and the distance in real life. On this map, 1 inch equals about 1,000 miles. Finally, there's latitude and longitude. Those lines can tell you your exact location on the planet. There you have it, maps. No, I don't think we should do a movie about how to fold maps. Well, maybe.
Okay. Good old Tim and Moby. Okay, they gave us a lot of good information on maps and what they are. Let me get back to my screen here. So, for hiking and camping adventures, we'll need a map to show us the terrain we're going to be in, right? We need to know where we can have our tent, where it's flat, maybe where the mountains are and the water, and maps tell us all those things. Okay, so let's go to the basics, okay? There's some basic features that most maps will include, and Tim and Moby told us a few of those things. So to create an accurate picture of a landscape on paper, everything has to be made much, much smaller. So this is done by scaling down the actual size of the land or making it smaller. So the scale tells you how much the land has been scaled down to fit the paper. If the scale of a map is 1/50th, then everything on the map will be 50,000 times smaller than it is in reality. That is so, so, so small. So a map is just a drawing of a real place that's shrunk down because it's got to fit on that certain size of paper. And that's how we can, where the scale is going to come into play. We're going to know how much it's shrunk down to be able to fit that paper. Okay, next. So another thing that Tim and Moby told us is that we will have a key or a legend on our map. So here's a good picture of what this map or legend's going to look like. So we've got our map key here, and that's a table that explains the various symbols used on that particular map. Another term for the map key is the map legend. So we've got a map key right here of what looks to be a ski resort. So it's going to show us where the lift is, where the high-speed lift is, where the easy and intermediate and difficult and expert only mountains are, or hills, and where the night skiing is, all these things. So all those different pictures you're going to find on the map, and that's going to help you know where to go to find those things. So sometimes they can have maybe 2 or 3 things on them. Sometimes they could have 50 things on them, It just depends on what the map needs to show. So sometimes they're simple, sometimes they're complex. Okay, another thing we know now that's on a map is a compass rose. And this tells us the north, east, south, and west. And that will help us know because, the paper, we got to know what way to turn the paper so we know what way to go, right? Or we got to know where north, you don't even have to turn the paper, but where the north, east, south, and west is so that we know what way to walk to go. Next week, we're going to learn how to use a compass. And so that will be interesting that you guys will get to know that so you can look at a map and be able to follow with your compass on there. And so the compass rose is a circle showing the principal directions printed on the map chart. My teacher, when I was you guys' age, she taught us north, east, south, and west by saying, never eat soggy waffles. And then we could always know what order all of those things went in. Okay, so rivers and streams are also shown on maps, and they're usually shown as blue lines. And the width of the line shows just how big the actual water is. So how big the river is or how big the stream is. So if it's a wide line, we know that it's going to be a wide river or stream, and if it's a thin line, we know it's going to be kind of a smaller river or stream. And this can really help you in determining our position on the map too, right? Because if we're by water, we can look on that map and that can kind of help narrow down just right where we are. Roads. So roads tend to be marked in different colors on maps depending on what kind of road it is. So we know that there are interstates and freeways. There are, and those roads on a map range from the thick blue lines that show those motorways to dashed lines, indicating it's an unfenced minor road or road that's maybe not paved or not used as much. So that is a good indication of where we are as well. Okay, so non-motorized paths are marked on maps in various colors. So you'll notice on this map there are trails for hiking, biking, horseback riding, and others. So this trail key, or the legend right there in the lower right corner, it shows a few different things. So it's going to show the symbol for the hiking trail. So we can look on there. It's that man walking. The bicycle, it shows the bicycle trail. So you can easily see on there where you can ride your bike on what trails. It also shows the horseback trails. So, and at the bottom lower left-hand corner, it also shows the scale. So that will also help us know just how long those trails are. Okay. So maps are flat, right? Because it's printed on a piece of paper. So because they're flat, how can we tell on the map where those hills and mountains and steep cliffs or low valleys are? This part might get a little confusing, but bear with me because by the end of this slideshow, I think you guys are all going to be pros on this. So the ability to understand the shape of the ground from a map is a useful skill to learn, particularly in mountainous landscapes and when you're out and about hiking. So look for the height and shape of the ground, which is shown on a 1/25th scale map by brown contour lines. A contour is a line drawn on a map that joins points of equal height above sea level. For 1/25th scale maps, the interval between contours is usually 5 meters, although in mountainous regions, it might be 10. So wow, what does all that mean? That was confusing even for Miss Megan. And when you're looking at a map, it might just seem like a bunch of lines everywhere and get really confusing. So I'm going to show you this clip, and this clip's really going to help you guys be able to understand what I just told you because it's kind of confusing. So let me show you this little video. Okay, we want to make sure. Go. Okay.
When you're out and about, it's really useful to get a sense of the shape and height of the surrounding landscape. And on an OS map, you do that using contour lines. These are the faint reddish-brown lines you can see running across here. And eventually, you come to a number. That'll give you the height above sea level of that particular line. And that line is running between interconnected points of the same height. The difference in between contour lines is going to be 5 meters or 10 meters, and you can tell that by looking at the legend on your map. Here, on a shallow slope, the contour lines will be far apart. When you visit somewhere like this, the contour lines are much closer together to show a much steeper slope. With a bit of practice, you can look at a two-dimensional map like this and start to get in your head a complete three-dimensional picture of what the landscape looks like, and that's a really important tool in navigation.
Okay. back to my screen. So I hope that video helped a little bit. It sure helped me when I watched it, because sometimes when we're talking about all these lines on a map, it's really hard to know, just where you are looking at and what the terrain's going to be around you, because you're just looking at a piece of paper. So I hope that was a little bit more helpful. So let's keep on going with this contour line a little bit and practice with it a little bit more. So like it said in that little clip, this illustration here, it shows how contour lines show a pair of small hills, okay? So it showed us something similar on that video. So you can see from the picture above the link between the shape of the hill and the contours representing the map. So on that right side, those contour lines are farther apart, meaning that the hill is not going to be as steep. And then on the left side, the contour lines are closer together, and that's going to help us know that it's going to be kind of a steeper terrain that we're going to have to go over, or maybe that it's going to be so steep we're going to want to go around it. And that's going to help us know, what to do when we're hiking or camping or out in the wilderness. So the steeper the slope, the closer together the contour lines will be. And let me see how to word this. If you learn anything from this video, this is what I want you to remember, is just what I said. The steeper the slope, the closer together the contour lines are going to be. So if you see those contour lines really close together, you're going to picture in your head a really steep hill or mountain, right? If they're farther apart, you're going to picture not as high, a lower of a slope hill. So it will be a little bit easier to go over or through. Okay, so putting it all together, now you know how contour lines are created. You can use them to visualize the terrain they show, remembering that contours follow points of equal height. If you can't see a number, follow the line to find one. On some maps, not all contours will have labels and are printed slightly lighter, but you can work out the height by looking at labeled contours above and below. The best way to understand contours is to practice by comparing a map to the real world or photographs. So maybe when you're hiking next, you can see if you can find a map of that place you're hiking, and then you can look at the map and see those contour lines and look around you, and you can really see just how tall that terrain is by comparing what it actually looks like to those lines on the map. So we're going to play a little bit of a game. I'm not sure how it will work on the computer. It'd be much funner if I was all in class with you guys and we could really go through all this and have maps all over the place. But I'm going to get a little sheet up here for you, and we're going to see if we can practice this a bit. This worksheet really helped me understand these contour lines. So as you can see, on the left-hand side, we have the contour lines, and on the right-hand side, we have what the mountains actually look like, what they could. So we know this first one here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I'm hoping you can. So this first one here, on that right side, the lines are really close together. And on that left side, they kind of get a little bit spread apart. So we know there's going to be a lower hill or terrain and then higher, right? So it's going to be that second brown one on the right-hand side. That's what it's really going to look like, right? Okay, then if we go back to the contour lines on the left, that second one, all those lines are so close together, right? And they come right to the center. So we know there's going to be one large hill. So that's going to be this triangle piece, the second from the bottom on that right-hand side. That's what that contour line would really look like if you were looking or drawing a picture of it based on those contour lines. Now that third contour line on the left side, it looks like those hills or mountains are going to be pretty similar in height, which leads us to believe it's this third one from the bottom on the right-hand side that there's the two hills that are equal. So do you see how that can kind of help you picture what it looks like? So maybe you could even take a map this week and look at it and look for these things, and maybe you could just draw on a separate piece of paper what in your mind you're visualizing that mountain or hill to be like. And that might really help you get to be familiar with these contour lines, because it is something that you're going to use a lot if you're going to hike and go out in the wilderness, so that you know what kind of terrain you are in and that you can be prepared for it, right? Because that's part of it. That's why we're supposed to look for maps. You know how we always say that, be prepared so we don't get lost. We're going to look for maps because then we're going to know what to expect, because you don't want to get going on a trail and realize that hill or mountain is so high you can't get up to it, or you don't have the right equipment to be able to get up to it, and that can cause some danger. So I want you guys this week to maybe go through your house or ask your parents where you could find some maps. It's really easy because we all have phones now. I'm sure your parents do. They actually have maps on there. So let's see. I'm going to type in a map on here, and a location, I mean, on this map app. So I can type in, I typed in Logan Canyon First Dam, and it shows me that. So you can kind of look at that and get familiar with it. You can look through books. I have this great big map right here. It's a map of the United States that I use for teaching, well, of the world, not just the United States. I'm showing you South America, not North America. And that kind of, this is a type of map. It's called, it shows all the different countries. I mean, if you want to be able to practice those contour lines, I would suggest getting a map of maybe a trail that's close by you, or a campground that's close by you, or a mountain area close by you, and that will help. So for your homework this week, or a fun activity, it's not even homework, I want you guys to go ahead and draw a map. You know, it can be any kind of map. You could draw a map of maybe your favorite amusement park. You could do a map of your house. You could do a map of your bedroom, or you can practice those contour lines, and maybe you can just draw. I practiced. You can draw your own. If you had what you could just make up a ground. So I drew a couple different contour lines here that show the different mountains of my area, some rivers. I've got a key right here, and then I've got the compass rose right here. So go ahead and just practice coloring maps and looking at maps. I did another one. So on here it shows mountains. These houses show not bedrooms, bathrooms. The water is the rivers and streams, and then I've got hiking trails on here. So I've got my map key here in the corner and my compass rose. And it's kind of gets fun when you draw maps, because you can just make up fun places that you think would be cool. And then if you want to take a picture of that map, you can email it to me. My email address is Megan, MEAGAN.Brewer, BREWER @DaVinciAcademy.org. If you guys want to send me some of your maps, I can put them on our next video. I can show your classmates them, and they can see how well you guys did, or those fun areas that you decided to create in your mind, or those places you've been to that you draw a map of. And I think it would be a lot of fun, and it would be something to keep you entertained while we're all kind of stuck inside or quarantined a little bit. We miss you. All the teachers miss you, and we hope you're doing well and staying safe. And next week we'll continue on a little bit more with maps, and I'll teach you how to use a compass. And so that will be really fun. So have a good week, and I'll see you next time.